Hi, I'm Rafa Benitez. You are watching the Redmen TV.
A Klopp hat and glasses probably is just about.
Klopp hat.
Klopp hat, love that. Klopp hat. KloppYellowhat.com or whatever. I'm going to pay for Graeme's holiday this summer.
I'm doing, yeah.
Yeah, it's like I say, I get it to some extent, but it just feels a bit.
I don't get the Jürgen Klopp thing. I don't get me wrong. He's won 2 Bundesligas and got to the final of another. But you know, as I said earlier, we're outside of the top 3 or 4 now because of finances, etc. You look at Chelsea and Man City. There isn't another Chelsea or Man City in any league in the world. They're owned by a Russian oligarch and you know, the second biggest wealth fund in the world. So they don't have that in the Bundesliga. They don't have it in La Liga or Italy or anywhere else. You know, Serie A. But we're behind them too. And then United, the gargantuan club, got double our turnover, treble our profits. So we're behind them as well. Arsenal, very well run club, got a stadium.
Arsenal are what we want to be, plus 10
Yeah,
years.
yeah, but it's not just about that. Arsenal are based in London as well, so you can always add 30-40% to that. You know what I mean? It's that's how big London is for them. You know, they charge 120 quid for tickets that we charge 40 quid for, in all honesty.
Yeah.
So we're outside them top 4 people, and Jürgen Klopp was at Dortmund, who had the second biggest wage bill in Germany and the second highest spenders in Germany behind Bayern Munich. And I just wonder if, you know, would he become a bit frustrated at Liverpool? Is this the person that, you know, he might turn out to be a very good manager? I know you said before it'd be very good to see him coming into, you know, interviews and swearing at people and telling the son to get out.
Madness.
Shit.
Exactly.
You know, saying fuck off, get out. You're not in my interview. You know, I'd love all that part of it, but what the substance of the man would you know, when he's getting linked to Bayern Munich and Real Madrid before Rafa got the job, so. You know, there's a bit of a.
The thing about Jürgen Klopp, I like him, and I like the cut of his jib. I like the fact that he's a big head, isn't he? You know what I mean? And he talks. Brendan Rodgers talks a good, sensible, solid Liverpool game. You know what I mean? He's got all the right rhetoric, but it's kind of sometimes it feels a bit like he's kind of analysed how he should be, and that's how he is because it plays well to the demographic. Yeah. Whereas Klopp, I don't think Klopp. I think Klopp's just Klopp. He just is who he is, and I kind of like that. It's like, you know, it's what Shankly was like. It's kind of like what Brian Clough was like. You know what I mean? Just a knobhead.
Well, when Mick says something right, is he comes across a bit working class. Yeah. You know, we're all working class lads that go to the match, and Liverpool's a working class club that, you know, was the heart of the community at one point. Yeah, it's not active in the community as much now, and he comes across that way. It's not rehearsed. He doesn't have a shave. He hasn't got a tan and white teeth. This is what my mate was saying. You know, he hasn't gonna. My mate fully believes if Rodgers loses his job, he's bringing out a fitness DVD. Do you know what I mean? It's one of them. It's spandex and you know, but you don't get that with Klopp. It looks like he slept in his trackie with his hat on. So I can understand that part of it, but I don't know why we focus on him so much and not other managers that are out there.
No, absolutely.
There's very much a myth around him, isn't there? And he's never actually been. I mean, he's never been measured against anything.
No. And he's had more relegations than Rodgers and things. You know what I mean? In his time, and you look at that, but so would Rafa. So you look at things like that and go, well.
The only thing about Klopp is, like I say, he's got the attributes I like. Actually, I like the idea, I like the package, and I like his experience. And you know, there's no shame in losing a European Cup final to a team, you know, that you could just as easily lose your league title to as well, that kind of thing. But the way we were discussing this in the studio earlier, because when we got Rafa, he was on an upward. Sorry for the camera. He was on an upward trajectory. You know, his next step, going from winning the UEFA Cup to winning the Champions League, was a good, you know, was a logical kind of progression. Whereas Klopp's, because he's taken that little dip, it would only take like a few bad months if it didn't kick on straight away, and all of a sudden people are going, hang on a minute. And Liverpool fans are just as bad as anyone for this. We're the worst amongst the worst for it to be like, hang on, he was shit in his last season.
He was in the bottom 3 for 8 weeks and all this.
Exactly, and people all of a sudden kiss are going. It would be very easy for question marks to be raised around Klopp because he has dented his own reputation with that last season.
That's it. I mean, I think you always want to try and get somebody on the rise, don't you, at the end of the day? But the thing with I don't know whether FSG are going to stick with the strategy that we are currently on now, you know, because they've backed Rodgers to implement their plan. It was their idea to go and develop younger players and stuff like that. That, for me, over the last few years, that hasn't worked as well as they probably hoped to. So I can understand why Klopp's getting linked, because they think he'll be a good fit for FSG. What if FSG are thinking, well, we need to change our strategy here. We need to do something slightly different because this isn't working.
I think we've said this as well. The only problem with that, I guess, is that I don't think we're ever going to be able to change that strategy unless someone comes in with ludicrous money behind them and they're able and they're free to spend it, because we can't financially compete with Man City and Chelsea and Man United.
We probably could, though. You know, we can box a little smarter, if you will, because at the end of the day, we have spent 20 million on Markovic and we've loaned him out.
Yeah.
You know, that's a fucking hefty chunk of money. 20 million should be buying you a player that goes into your team. Yeah. You know, it's not a 19, 20-year-old kid. You can still get a 24, 25-year-old player for 20 million quid.
Yeah, but not. You can, but you're talking about the best. If you're talking about the best possible quality of players,
it's not. 20 million. Schweinsteiger was 15.
Yeah, okay, absolutely.
But then Schweinsteiger's on 230 grand a week. We're not going to pay them. That's what we spoke about it earlier. But we're not going to. People say, Chelsea have got. City have got 8-9 players on over 200 grand. Yeah. Chelsea have got 6 7. United, we haven't got one. One.
There's obvious exceptions to the rule, but by and large, £20 million is your new good top end Premier League squad player, essentially. You know what I mean? That's a guy who comes in and does a solid job for you. Adam Lallana will, I think, in the fullness of time, people probably look at it and go, that was actually reasonable. It was probably slightly too much, but that was roughly about what you should be paying for those. As Man United, a great deal on Schweinsteiger, you can't argue with that. Would he have picked us over them, given what they had available to them? That's another question. Yeah. We could argue that all day, couldn't we? But, I think that in terms of £20 million players, you look at like it's 30, 40, 50, 60 million pound players who were the big difference makers these days.
Yeah, but when we sold Suarez, Liverpool could have turned around and blown all that on one player. The squad wasn't big enough, but we'd probably have been in a better situation had that signing worked.
That's a big if, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it's a big if, and it's easy to say now looking back on it. Yeah. I thought at the time they've put it the right thing in spreading that money out a little bit. Actually, looking back in the fullness of time, I think 30 goals a season is 30 goals a season.
Yeah.
And that's really difficult to replace.
The way I think of it a bit strange is, I agree with you, you could box clever, and you have either a director of football, or you have a committee, or you have the manager picking the players. You don't have a hash of everything, which is what we've got. People go, oh, that Lallana's shit, he's a Rodgers signing. Chan's amazing, he's a committee sign. We're just everywhere. Where if we've got a strategy, an ideology, and a culture to push forward in this direct route, do it through the committee, and then everything's down to them, or the director of football. Absolutely. Everything's down to them, and that's what and that's what FSG wanted. They implemented Comoli with Kenny, and that was it. That was their structure, and that's what they were going to aim for. And then they changed it for Rodgers, and that's where I find it weird is, even if Rodgers come in and he said, I'm going to guarantee his success and stuff, and he had this manifesto apparently, if I went to my job, when I got recruited for my role, if they turned around to me and went, we need a weekly report off you, and I went, well, I don't do weekly reports. They go, have a good life.
Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah.
But Rodgers gone, I don't work with the DOF. I don't want to direct the football. And they've gone, all right, we'll bend the rules. We'll change our structure, which... everything's like a house of cards. Then,
that's because they weren't football men, I think, isn't it? And they were thought, okay, actually, maybe we're wrong here. They should have had the courage of the convictions. That's what they truly believed in. That's what they should have done.
The thing that's made the situation really confusing since then is that the football man they did install in Rodgers has gone on, and actually everything he got the job on, he's not delivering. Yeah. I'm not talking results wise, but in terms of the style and the performances aren't what the promise was anyway. So there's changes to the structure that that was changed to accommodate him, and going further beyond that, he's actually changed what the promise was.
The only counterpoint to that, I guess, is that depending on the kind of role, because you can go into companies and engineer a role for yourself if you get in high enough up the company. If you went to the guy, the top guy at the company, and they let the cut you see, that's clearly what's happened. He's clearly won the John Henry and them over completely. He's won, and that's why he's probably given as much time and been given the freedom he has. So it does happen that way. But whether that was the right decision looks a little bit spotty. Best on the director of football stuff, we'll come on to that in a minute. I want to know from everyone. Yeah, check out the full discussion on the redmentv.com. It's boss. It's completely free for a month. For the best part of an hour, we obviously discussed A bit more on Jürgen Klopp, the director of football role at Liverpool, who we think it should be, if anyone. We also answered your questions from Twitter and Facebook as well, including whether we trust Rodgers for the job next season, if he got top 4 this season, do we need a defensive coach, and our man crushers on Danny Ings. Check it out, man. I'll take it at the end of the video. Cheers.